Rob, just a few days out from the semi-final, and your thoughts ahead of it all?
Usual emotions for a big game. Bit nervous, bit edgy, excited at the same time. Looking forward to it. Wishing it was here tomorrow. Those kind of, the usual kind of things that happen. I think we're a bit like that as a team now. I think most of the lads would probably are just ready to crack on and feel like training's getting in the way a little bit, which is a good thing in a lot of ways. But I think the important thing is just to make sure we get through the work we need to make sure we're well prepared. And like I say, don't get too wound up too early in the week, but make sure that obviously by the time Friday comes around, we're emotionally pretty much bang on, and ready to turn up here and put in what should be our best performance of the season if we want to get anything out of the game.
You've talked about the last 2 weeks being big results for you, and you've got that home advantage now. How key is that?
Well, I mean, you'd like to think it's very important. Obviously, we've got a good record here. It's great to be in front of our own supporters, but the truth is, home records or being at home, they don't mean anything if you don't turn up and get on with the game and play very well. So, obviously, it's fantastic. I'd much prefer to be here and avoid the travelling and, as I say, play in front of our own support. But really, it doesn't necessarily make winning the game easier if we don't turn up emotionally in the right frame of mind.
And the last 2 games, you saw all facets of your game. The attack, the defence, the physicality. It was all there, and you talked about hitting the peak at the right time.
Yeah, we've been good the last 2 weeks, and I think the important thing is to remember what created that, and that was good training weeks and understanding how important the games were for us, and everyone understanding their individual roles and getting on with things. And that's obviously got to be the important focus this week, is that we remember that actually a large part of those games were the basics of getting out there, working very hard and being very physical, and you've got to be prepared to commit that if you want to win big games of rugby. So, as I said, the big focus for me with the guys is just making sure that we're ready to work that hard again. If we're prepared to work that hard again, we give ourselves a great chance. 4th
instalment with Wasps, 2-1 to the Chiefs, but this is going to be probably the toughest challenge of the lot so far.
Well, it should be. It should be. In theory, it's the biggest game of all of them. Both ourselves and Wasps have worked extremely hard this season to get here, and I can't imagine either of us want to give it up without a real fight. So, we both had a week off last week. Not going to be any excuses for anybody not having, being rested up or having energy. The pitch is going to be firm, almost whatever the weather conditions. So, in a lot of ways, it should be a cracking game.
Having got to the playoffs, you then wanted to kick on, and we've seen that these last few weeks. Have you got another message now for the guys?
Not so much really, other than not to let an opportunity slip through your fingers. I think a lot of the time, I know I've used it a lot, is that you need to experience these things to really understand what they're like. When you do, that's not lying, but it doesn't mean that this is an opportunity that's been presented right in front of us now because of a lot of people's hard work. And the most important thing for us is we make the best of that opportunity.
And knockout rugby now, it tends to like the Chiefs. We like this sort of rugby.
I hope so. I mean, we've won some big games before in difficult circumstances. So, I mean, that's the key. And I think I've heard, Di said the same thing. He wants to see the best of Wasps, but what I want to see is the best of Exeter. And I think you've got to be pretty satisfied if that's what happens. And normally at home, if you see the best of us, you see us win.
We've very quiet here at the moment, but 13,000 here at the weekend. And 99% of them are going to be Chiefs fans. It's going to be quite an atmosphere, and they've got their part to play. Yeah,
obviously. I mean, like I said, the support here has been fantastic. Most people are aware that this is probably one of the best atmospheres in the Premiership when it's rocking. But the important thing is for the team to play in a way that gets the support going. That's what's very important. And I just think it's important the way they walk out and the way they hit the pitch. And as I say, they've got to show the crowd that they're prepared to work extremely hard, and that's what will get them involved in the game.
Well, as Mark said, you've played Wasps 3 times already this season. Is there an overall picture you can look at over the 3 games?
Yes, I suppose a little bit. I think both ourselves and Wasps, we probably know a fair bit about each other's game plan. So really, there is the opportunity to bring in the odd little thing, and I think both of us will do that. But I think also, it's about us both trying to make the best of what we've got and the way we play, and not trying to find, often you try and find magic answers, and a lot of the time in a game of rugby there isn't too many magical answers. It's not really to be able to sit in front of a team and go, right, if you do these 1 or 2 things, you're going to win the game. The reality is, as I said before, over the 80 minutes you probably have to win the work rate battle and the physicality battle first and foremost. We'll both be aiming to do that, and I think that's ultimately going to be the key. The energy and the enthusiasm about the physical contest is really what's going to decide the game.
Obviously this is very uncharted territory for both the club and many players in the dressing room. how important is it for the likes of Jeff Parling and the sort of ex-Leicester contingent to bring their experience to the changing room and kind of play down not the expectation and the sort of emotion of the occasion, really?
Yeah, I mean, a bit like everything, they've all got important roles to play. Over the course of the week, but they've been doing that over the course of the season. And really, what I don't want Jeff and guys like Julian Salvi to worry about is to think they've got to go out there and win the game on their own. What's important for them is to understand their part in the jigsaw, and I think that's where we've been good over the last couple of weeks. I think the 15 on the pitch have kind of understood their roles and they've executed them extremely well. And I think that's what good teams do. They don't go into a semi-final now and start to try and change things and start trying to overcompensate for other people and start worrying about what the guy next to them's doing. What a good team does now is they all lock down, they all do their roles extremely well. And as I said, I think as we're getting success with that becomes easier to convince the players about, and that's what we've got to make sure that we do this weekend. If it's tight, and I imagine the game between two good sides will be close for quite a while. A lot of the time it's the team that breaks first and decides that has to try something a little bit different, or just kind of gets away from plan that kind of makes mistakes, and that's what's going to be important for us. When it's been tight these last couple of weeks, we've stuck at things. Even early in the game here against Wasps a few weeks ago, we weren't getting any reward really from driving line outs, and we weren't getting really any reward from scrums early on, but by the end of the game a lot of that initial hard work paid dividends for us and we scored some tries, and I think that's what was really satisfying, is that we stuck to plan. And as I said, we didn't become ill-disciplined when things didn't go our way, and ultimately we came out on top, and I think that's going to be the crucial aspect of the control that perhaps senior players can bring this week.